So after digesting essentially the entire corpus of the self-improvement industry on YouTube, there is one thing that has become very pertinent to me when it comes to the content that's out there. People will search for how to improve, how to get better, what habits to install within themselves, and in one way or another, they will be pointed towards one particular thing. Now that thing, as you will know, is discipline. You'll see videos that will say 5 habits to cultivate within yourself, and essentially what they'll go into from that point is something or words to the effect of do the cold shower, meditate, read, all of these things. And while these are wonderful and very useful and you should go for them, the videos themselves are in many respects misleading because they will show you 5 things to do to cultivate one habit. In this video, we're going to go about it a different way. We're going to use one habit to cultivate 5 good traits within yourself. And these 5 things will be something that you will not have heard before in this industry, which is where I come into play to help you out. So the first thing we're going to talk about today, and the running theme of this video is essentially going to be how to improve on all fronts by using your personality, by improving who it is that you actually are in yourself. And the first thing that I want to make a point of is honesty. Now, as having been someone who spent quite a long time sort of sowing white lies into their conversations and really just not being sort of flat out honest across the board, since having changed this part of my psyche and becoming more just candid and really actually saying what I mean, I've experienced a tremendous amount of growth on all fronts. So to break that down and to make that something that we can sort of take away from this video, the first key step that came to make this a part of me was reading the book Lying, which is a book by Sam Harris. It's very short. I recommend that you pick it up. It's about 100 pages. You can do it in a day easily. Very easy read. What that book told me, which really changed the way I perceive the world, was that it's never useful for you to lie about things. Now, we will go about our days on quite a consistent basis, it seems, with just sprinkling white lies into our conversation, or not quite saying the thing that we really should say, sort of maybe not even lying sometimes, but not quite saying what we mean. This will often come from a place of kindness. We'll quite often tell a white lie as to not hurt someone's feelings, or just generally avoid maybe a bit of a hairy conversation. Let me tell you, since changing this aspect of my psyche, my general perspective of the world has improved tenfold, easily tenfold, maybe more than that. And I'll tell you why that is. When you tell white lies and when you don't quite say what it is that you mean, you put your psyche in a state of sort of tension, sort of discomfort, because you're not quite, you feel as though you need to cover your back with points. And I noticed and have noticed since choosing to really pay attention to the words that I say, which should be a running theme in this video, and being honest with myself that if I haven't said something that's true, going back and correcting that, or if I'm telling someone that I don't want to do something, telling them exactly why. I have found a wonderful habit to cultivate within yourself is honesty, and to just be really to the point. Now, what I'm going to touch on the point that the habit that will be across these 5 things on each point, and sort of make it evident in each case as to why this is the trait that I want you guys to take away from this video. That trait in question is thinking before you speak. Thinking before you speak is one of those things that we've been told since kindergarten or since preschool for the British out there, that you should think before you speak, or don't say anything if you don't have anything nice to say. It's one of those points that's been glossed over and really papered over as the years have gone on in our lives, but it's something that you should refer to. Now, the most simple way of cultivating honesty within your speech and within yourself is to just really pay attention to what it is that you say before you say it. Now, with regard to this sort of process of coming to instill this sort of level of honesty within yourself, it's very simple. It will take some time, but it's very simple. All you need to do is, when you feel yourself moving through your conversation, just generally, or genuinely rather, check in with yourself on what it is that you're actually saying. If you say something and you think, that's not quite true, I shouldn't have really said that, that's not actually what I meant, you have the opportunity to either go back and say, actually, do you know what, that wasn't true, let me rectify that. Or just instill that in your head, key mark it, and make a point of how it made you feel. What you will realise, and I do really urge to go and get Sam Harris's book on this because it will encapsulate this in a wonderful way. What you realise when you lie is that it doesn't feel good within you, because it just puts you on the back foot with things. It makes you feel like you've got something to hide and there's things to sort of be aware of. You don't have to check in with what it is that you said to someone else and sort of cross-reference your points if you're honest across the board. It's a very good trait to cultivate within yourself. And I noticed as well, when it comes to actually cultivating relationships with people, it's very, very useful because it makes the words that you say that much more meaningful and pleasant as well. I've noticed a wonderful example of this is my mum is an artist, right? And she will often speak to people about her art. She'll say, how is this? And she'll always get a, yeah, that's wonderful, because people don't want to say anything but that when it comes to things like that, because you don't want to hurt someone's feelings. Now, I might sound a bit cold saying this, but give me some time. If she's done something that I think, I know you can do better than that, then I'll tell her. And the reason why I will tell her is because in doing that, my word becomes more trustworthy to her. And in doing that, I become a more... just a better presence, because it means that if she really needs advice with something, she knows what I will say is the truth, is what I genuinely think. There's no papering over. And you have to think on this point, if you ask someone right at the start of a project or right when you start learning something, is this good? And they go, yeah, wonderful, great. And then 2 years down the line, they say the same thing. Well, it's not constructive. Like, you haven't, it makes... in my head, it would make you think, well, if it was wonderful then and it's wonderful now, have I improved? Like, is it 2 years worth of time? Surely it's got to be a lot better. Whereas if you say to someone, do you know what? Like, I've seen your work now. You can, I think you could probably do a little bit more on that. This is good, but that might need some work. When you do that, you become a much nicer presence in people's lives. And I think a lot of the time when it comes to honesty, we sort of try and avoid the point of just genuinely saying what we feel, because we don't want to hurt people's feelings. And this is where it comes back to sort of just being careful with what it is that you say, really thinking about your words. Because if you say something with honesty, you feel better for it, and the people around you will trust you a lot more. And trust is something that is really valuable to have. It makes you feel connected, and it makes people feel comfortable within your presence. The next thing that I think is critical for people to really, really ramp in and sort of embed in their psyche is a feeling of respect towards yourself, also towards other people, but we're a lot better at being respectful towards other people than we are to ourselves. You don't need me to tell you how to be respectful to other people. You know how to do that. Be polite, be kind, make sure you smile. You know how to do this. The point I want to make evident here is respect towards yourself. Because as people who want to work towards things, want to make things better, want to improve themselves, we are our worst critic. And the inner tyrant is prevalent within a lot of our minds. I have noticed, as a result of upping my work intake and getting more things done, my propensity to be sort of critical and harsh towards myself has gone up in turn. What I realised in sort of really taking some time to actually look at why I do this, why I'm someone who it doesn't seem like any amount of work is ever sufficient, when doing this, I realised something critical within that lesson. And it was that I wasn't treating myself with any respect. I wasn't treating myself to the standard that I would treat other people to. And this is the important point to make on this when it comes to respecting yourself, is how would you respond to a friend who is trying their best if you knew they were trying their best? You wouldn't ridicule them and say, oh God, you could have done more than that, or that's not that good. You know, you wouldn't do that. What you would do is you would look for the good, and you would try and, in line with the honesty that we've just spoken about there, Maybe if constructive criticism is needed, you'd be constructive and you'd be kind and you'd be a soft touch with it. You wouldn't be critical. Now, the reason I put this under the term respect is because we can be very disrespectful towards ourselves when it comes to most things, unfortunately. We hold ourselves to this really high standard upon which it's like you can never satiate that desire. You can never satisfy the hunger to keep on improving, keep on doing stuff. And while that's wonderful, if you don't have a feeling of respect instilled within yourself for yourself, it's a finite resource of energy, because you can't keep doing that. You have to at some point realise that you're a human, and David Goggins said this, so this is the point of remembering, you know, we all hold ourselves to this standard. You're a human and you deserve to check in with yourself and make sure that you're actually happy with what it is that you're doing, or that at least you know that you've tried your best, and congratulate yourself for that as well. I think respect for yourself is something that is so consistently glossed over and is actually so useful. Honestly, in terms of my general happiness, being able to be respectful towards myself and congratulate myself for things has been a game changer for that negative voice, because it makes you realise, and this is in line with the honesty thing, I'm going to sort of tie these all together as we run through just to keep it all nice and compact. When you're honest, you can be respectful towards yourself, because you know that no matter what happens, you're someone who is honest, you're someone who is decent. And in turn, you instill and cultivate a feeling of respect within yourself, because you can go, well, you can't, there are some things that you just flat out cannot make yourself believe when it comes to the psyche. Alex Hormozi speaks of the undeniable stack of evidence that you are who you say you are. And fortunately, when it comes to being a good person and doing good things, that becomes very prevalent, because if you're someone who thinks, oh, I'm not a very nice person, if you can't recall any instances where you've been like that, or the ones that you can are very flimsy because your mind's just trying to give you something, that gives you the evidence you need to counter the point, because then you can say, well, look, I can't be that bad of a person. I'm obviously a positive force for the world, because I can't think of any times when I'm not. I'm genuinely a nice person. I'm an honest person. Respect within the self is a wonderful trait to cultivate. And running with the theme of this video, the point I'd like to make is everything I say here will come together into one nice bundle for you to take away, in the point of thinking before you speak and just genuinely being honest with yourself. Positive traits in one beautiful habit. Let's move on to the next one. Now, the next one is kindness. And this one's going to sound trivial, and it's going to sound like, we've all heard about kindness before. But kindness is the same thing. When you choose to refuse the negative thought that might percolate within your head on anything, as best as you can, throw the negativity to the side. We need to change what negativity is within the mind, because the mind can only understand. This is something I thought was really interesting. On a podcast I did recently, I spoke to someone who's a counsellor, or a life coach rather, and she said that the brain cannot understand the action, it can only understand the feeling. So if within yourself you say, for instance, don't feel negative, it sparks the feeling of the negativity. So for instance, if I tell you to think of a pink elephant, you just thought of a pink elephant. Well done. A bit of psyche work there. And in doing that, the mind's the same thing. If you instill that sort of negative, any negative emotion within the head, it comes out in a negative way. If you suppress is the wrong word, let me rephrase. If you reinterpret negativity as either constructive criticism or a part of you that needs to be gradually pushed away, you will feel a lot better for yourself, and you will show up for the world in a much nicer way. I have noticed that as a result of choosing to, if someone says something hurtful, unless it absolutely needs to be addressed, just gloss over it. Put empathy into the forefront of your mind when it comes to your relations, and you will feel a great deal more joy just in general circumstances. Kindness is an invaluable resource, and it's something that is very easy to do. And this is the pleasant thing with everything we shall talk about in this video, is none of it's actually very hard to do. It's very simple, to be honest. Just say what you mean. It's very simple to be respectful. Just be respectful. We know how to do it. We were taught it at school. We can quite successfully make ourselves believe it's something we need to relearn, but it's not. It's very simple. And unfortunately, sometimes the brain just goes, oh, fuck that. That's way too simple. Let me just not do that. These things are simple, and they're something you can do. So kindness is something that is very important to instill within yourself. If you can be kind and you can be honest within saying, you know, maybe that wasn't my best work, but I really did try. Like, you can't say I didn't try. Or, you know, just if you think something nice of someone, say it to them. Whenever there's an opportunity to be nice to someone, take it. Be kind, because my paper just fell. When you do that, it's just that positive karma into the world. There's nothing bad will come from choosing in as many scenarios as possible to be kind. Don't take that for being a walkover or a pushover. Sometimes you need to deal with, rather than kindness, honesty. Even so, this ties into the point of respect. You can still deal with people who are not necessarily deserving of your kindness with honest respect. And this is why, as I say, these will continue to bundle into one thing. When you're kind to yourself, to other people, the world is a much better place. There is no harm to be found within kindness. The last point that I would like to make on sort of bringing these all together into this bundle of positivity and just general better life, happier mind, is patience. Now, I have noticed within myself that something that is absolutely integral when it comes to being able to enjoy what is in front of you and be content with the place you are is to be patient. It's very easy when you want to improve to be go, 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 go. I want to get this stuff now. I want to learn that. I want to get this. I want to make this happen. Cool, wonderful. But within this feeling, within the mind, there is this sort of ambient sense of when's it going to come? I need it now. And this is good because it's a positive energy. The sort of lack of patience is essentially excitement. It's you wanting something now, which is nice. It means that what's in front of you is something you care about. But it's that reframe that you need to bring into place of, if you're not patient, you won't do the things that will actually bring you happiness. If you're quick to lose that fuse, not be able to just go, right, this might be irritating now, or it might not quite be where I want it to be now, but we shall work it out. We shall keep going. We shall keep trying. It speaks of something that I shall continue to speak of, and that's the compounding effect. The compounding effect is essentially, if you do something, Joe Rogan's got a wonderful saying on this. It's like building a mountain with layers of paint. So that means you do one thing each day, or a handful of things each day, and over the course of days and days and months and years, you create a mountain, or in other words, a product of value. In doing that, in putting that layer of paint in each day, you create something that is valuable, but it takes time, it takes patience. As someone who has cultivated some of these good traits within myself, you realise that on a day-to-day basis, if you only journal one day, or you only do a cold shower one day, or meditate one day, you're not going to get a lot out of that. But if you do it one day every day, now we're talking. Now we're getting something out of this, because you're starting to build a real product. You notice a great analogy for this would be the gym. If you go to the gym once, your muscles aren't going to be much better than they were yesterday. But if you go to the gym once every 2 days for a year, you're going to see a lot of improvements. Things are going to be looking good. You're going to be looking hench, as they put it, as the kids say. That was a bit strange, a bit bent. But my point is, if you open yourselves up to patience and to being open to things taking time, you will experience a great deal more joy. I think a lot of the time we can be impatient when it comes to good things because, come on, fuck me, it's a good thing. We want something that is good for us because it's good. It's pretty obvious. I don't need to mansplain it very much more. But if we don't open ourselves up and commit ourselves to just generally being okay with the process and letting things come, we're not going to get the things that we actually want. It speaks of, and I seem to be pulling the phrases out today, Chris Williamson says, what would the you tomorrow want you today to do? And that's very good, because it is essentially that simple, that if you do something good for yourself today, tomorrow you can do it again, and each day it will be easier to do, it will be happier to do, and you will see more and more growth as a result of it. To tie in the point of essentially what has been the prevalent theme of today's video, it is just genuinely to think before you speak, and one step further than that, to think. Because when we actually pay attention to what it is that is coming through the mind and out into the world, we have more control over that than we think we do. It's very easy for us to assume that if we have something to say, that we need to say it. Or if a thought comes into our head with regard to what the words coming out of our mouth should be, that we need to run with that. It's a lot simpler than you think to actually pay attention to just thinking before you speak. Now, there's a bit of a teething process with this, because in large part what you will need to do is instill some more pauses within your conversation. You'll need to be more likely to, when someone speaks to you, not to answer straight away. It's not a tennis game. It's not a wait for you to finish speaking so I can throw it back over the net. Take some time in your conversations. People won't butt in. If you silence, as in thinking whilst you're waiting for something to say, or thinking of what to say, is very powerful. And within conversation, if you can instill these sort of islands of silence where you're actually thinking about what it is that you're saying, when you do that, people will listen. And in turn, the things you're saying are more valuable because you've thought about them, and they will come across better to the world. It is actually a lot simpler than it sounds to do this. It just takes some practice, and it brings back to this nice loop that we seem to have created here of the compounding effect. Of if you open yourself up to really just be patient enough to instill these habits of honesty, of kindness, of respect, if you are patient enough to do that over days and days of time, it will become second nature. It will become the way that you are. And it's a joyous thing as well. This is one of the lovely parts of this, is a cold shower is hard, and I do recommend cold showers. You should do them. But this isn't that hard. All you need to do is put these principles at the forefront of your mind. And the pleasant thing behind this is you've always got the chance to do it, because we're always talking to people. So you don't, I mean, sometimes in many respects it actually does work to just shoehorn this in. If you feel like there's any way where you can compliment someone, do it. Get it in there. Everyone loves a compliment. Even if it sounds a bit sort of forced and sort of not quite fluent yet, that's fine. It comes back to this point of patience. You just keep trying, keep doing it. And over a period of time, it will become something where it's just your fluency resides within a pleasant sort of presence within your conversations, within the world, within the place that you find yourself, my good sirs. It's a lot easier than we think, but for the point, to make it nice and rounded, I'm going to sort of backtrack a little bit on what it was that I said at the start of this video, in saying that one very, very useful habit for this is meditation. Meditation is really good at helping you realise that the thought that arises is not necessarily one that you need to act on. It actually makes you aware, because a lot of the time we don't even know that we're thinking. We sort of just run with this train of thought. We don't actually pay attention to the fact that, oh, that thought happened, but what actually is that thought? And really just think about it. I shall, for the sake of you, my dear viewers, put into the comments a video from Sam Harris that's really good, the Waking Up app from Sam Harris, which is really good, and to complete the Sam Harris trifecta, the Lying book. I shall put it some form of link for where you could go and get it if you want to, because it's really good. And I would say, to round this out in a bite-sized way, you want to instill the following habits within yourself. You want honesty, kindness, patience, and the last one is respect. In doing that, the way you can do this is to think before you speak. Now, a helpful way of learning how to think before you speak is to meditate and read. There's a book for you in the description. With that being said, thank you very much for your time. These videos are always pleasant for me to make, and I sincerely hope, my good sirs and ladies, that you enjoy it. So with that being said, get some reading done, get some meditation done, be a fucking G.